What's shaking, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more punk rock, back with some more Propagandhi, and this time we're going back to their Less Talk More Rock album, second studio album, 1995, I believe, 2 years after their original. I really do enjoy this album. I've mentioned it before. When I first heard it, it took me a month or two to sort of, I won't say come around. I liked it from the beginning, especially a couple songs I mentioned. The first song, Apparently I'm a PC Fascist, and the song known as Nation States. And we thought nation states were a bad idea, or a good idea, or a bad idea. Yeah, it's a bad idea. I think for so long I've just thought of it as nation states. But yeah, ultimately I did like those two songs right out of the gate, but some of the other songs, like, they just had a sort of different flavor from the first album, so it took me a few listens, but I came to really love this album just as much, just in a sort of, slightly different sound. But yeah, we're going to listen to a tune called I Was a Preteen McCarthyist. I believe the lyrics here relate to Chris. I say that because there's a song on the first album, which we can just maybe condense to Stick the Flag, and that song seems to reference a parental figure, a father that, is very sort of, let's say, nationalistic and, in favor of sort of militarism and so on, and I think at some point there was a personal stand taken by Chris that I don't want to be part of this anymore, even if you've sort of ensconced me in it and made me part of it through my youth. And I think this is sort of another angle of that, or another chapter of that, perhaps a follow-up to that. And yeah, it speaks to, again, I think Chris, but essentially the narrator ultimately growing up in a sort of military family and, going to a school where it was thought to be entirely normal to make kids write about, like, the dangers of capitalism, and like when they're, 8 or 9 years old, and, to sort of like frame what they should think about, like politics and economics and history and so on. And sure, you can say that that happens in, public schools all around the world, and while there is some degree of truth to that, it also sort of begs the question of, like, when we're talking about these things, should it be so normative where, like, this is what you have to believe, and this is good, and this is bad, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise? It seems like, that it betrays a lack of confidence in the actual ideas when they have to be sort of instilled, and any possible, ideas running in a different direction are dismissed out of hand, or you make the students write essays about why they're terrible, and so on. So I think it speaks to that experience growing up in a very sort of kind of nationalistic and sort of pro-militaristic sort of family and cultural environment. And I don't know Chris's personal history, but it seemed to suggest that the person was on a U.S. military base in the Carolinas. I do believe Chris is from Canada and Manitoba, so I'm not sure how that relates. Maybe the song doesn't relate to his history, but someone he knew. But yeah, either way, it basically gets to the point where this person gets a little older and they eventually, are sort of incensed, like, why did you tell me, like, all these things and, like, convince me that this is the only way to see the world, when now I don't quite see it the same way, and, you were telling me, like, even if you found out the truth, even if you found some other things, I think it's better that you should have just tried to believe, like, it's something to hold on to, and he's saying, why? Like, apparently it's better to keep believing even when you see, manifestly that it's not. So yeah, it does seem to be about a personal growth and sort of changing dynamic in relation to one's parental and, paternal figure. So yeah, like I said, I think it maybe relates to Chris, but I don't know that for certain. All I know is that the person's saying that, like, once you make that commitment to no longer being a part of this, you have to be careful. Don't let the fuckers drag you down. So yeah, you can either swim for shore or drown. So don't let the fuckers drag you down. So yeah, we're listening to, as I said, I Was a Preteen McCarthyist on Propagandhi's second album, Less Talk More Rock, from 1995 on Fat Records. And the only question at this point is, which side is it on? I believe it's the last one on this side, right? Well, we'll know very quickly, but I think that's right. Wow. Nope. So does that mean it's the last one here? I guess it means it's the last one here. don't think I did that right. Spring break up the flank line. Oh, right. Part of that evolution and eventual rejection is like, oh, you know, I used to take me around the base and I used to play on the helicopters and touch this A-10 or whatever. That same helicopter would, like, shoot lesser humans, splitting their bodies apart. Some of them maybe civilians, innocent. That held like harmony, I think. Samson John was singing on that as well, harmonizing. Weaker Than's still around? Anyone else? Does he still make music as or with the Weaker Thans? I mean, it was his project, right? I do love that song. And again, that was one of the songs that, like, in the following weeks, like, started to stand out very quickly. Which is to say, it wasn't one of the two that, like, really hit me, like, straight out of the gate. But it was, like, shortly after that, I was like, you know what, that's a great song too. And so is People's History of the World. Yeah, bottom line, I've really come to love this album, even if it took a little bit of a sort of, you know, evolution of my own listening to sort of come to appreciate it on the same level as How to Clean Everything, which had been more of like a, oh my god, like just blew my mind, because again, I had heard a little punk rock at that point when I first heard How to Clean Everything, but that was the first, you know, real, as I would call it. Not that I think authenticity is an overrated concept, and, you know, perhaps I should choose different language, because I hate when people start talking about, oh, well, this is the real thing, and anything outside of my definition of that is no longer the thing. And it's like, well, but that's a subjective, you know, analysis and opinion. So I won't say real punk rock band, I'll say, but they were the first punk rock band that had ideas, you know, beyond kind of, you know, emotional and interpersonal experiences, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, punk rock songs that delve into those matters. And indeed, you know, I think some of the greatest punk rock bands that I love do have songs that are about sort of personal experiences, even the one that we just heard, where it's, you know, about this growth as a human as part of a particular family that has certain values and so on. So but yeah, I like I said, it took me a little while to come to appreciate this album, but I really do enjoy it now. I really do love it. Yeah, let me know what you think of this tune. Let me know if there's another song on this album that you'd like to hear reacted to. Other than that, thank you for listening and watching. I do appreciate it. Have a good day, have a good night, and I'll see you next time.